I'm speaking today with Mr. Duke Mathebula, our keynote speaker. So Duke, welcome. Thank you very much for coming through to our offices today.
Thank you.
As you can see, we're practicing our social distancing. There's no aircon on in the offices, so we'll keep it quick. I've invited Duke to speak to us because it's been a very strange year, and I think there have been a lot of changes in the market. But before I give Duke the floor, I would just like to say a few words about his background. So Duke, you're currently with St. Gobain.
Mm-hmm.
You've been there about 4 years, and the last 2 years you've been in the role of
Head of IT Business Applications for the whole of Africa.
Right, okay. But I actually want to speak to you today in your other capacity, which is Chairman of AFSUG. And firstly, congratulations on being appointed Chairman.
Thank you.
And I think for our customers it would be very interesting to learn where AFSUG is at the moment and what their views are for the SAP market in the new year.
Okay.
Duke, a lot of people are really curious. Is there going to be a Sapila event next year in 2021?
That's $1 million question. I think yes. So there's a lot of uncertainty that we factored around the pandemic risks, and we're seeing what's happening the rest of the world. Thankfully, South Africa hasn't experienced the second wave yet. So obviously a lot of what we're going to do around when to host the Sapila is driven by the trends we're seeing happening in the country. So we plan to have Sapila in Q4 2021, and we've decided as a board that we're going to have it as a hybrid event. And I think that brings a lot of opportunities for us to actually attract more delegates to attend the event.
I think everyone is familiar with what AFSUG does, but perhaps in your own words, just tell us a bit about the organization, how it's affiliated or not affiliated with SAP, and what AFSUG's goals are.
That's a good question, actually. I think it's important for everyone to know that we are firstly independent of SAP.
Right.
So which means that we work in conjunction with SAP and our partners who are part of the SAP ecosystem. However, as a user group community, we make our own decisions around what is in the best interest of our members and customers in general. We live by three C's motto. So we connect, create, and collaborate. So it's a platform user community where we allow our members to actually be able to interact, and we provide content through workshops and providing use case studies of various transformation journeys for different members, and share the good and the bad. And I think that's where the value comes from in that, you could typically just read a case study, but in our platform, you're able to interact and connect with people that can actually share with you the intricate details of their journeys.
So Duke, we're quite curious how AFSUG has managed to navigate the pandemic, and perhaps you could give us some context there, even with user groups in other countries in SAP communities, how they've adjusted.
Okay. We just had a global session with all the user groups, and we're all sharing best practices on how we've navigated as user groups in eventual context within the pandemic. And I think what's key is some of the learnings for us as AFSUG is that we've seen an increase in attendance compared to the face-to-face meetings pre-COVID. So I think that's been quite a very good trend that we've seen and we've leveraged on, mainly driven by the fact that we understood when to schedule these sessions, and also ensuring that we respect people's time. You keep it to about 45 minutes of presentation and allow for 15 minutes of questions. Other things that we've learned are around how to keep our community engaged. For example, AFSUG and the board, we decided to donate 100,000 Rand this year to Fast Forward Food SA. And this was driven by we had money that we were not spending on the face-to-face meetings, which we usually spend on catering. And then we thought, well, as a board, let's find a organization that's deserving, that will put the money to good use. And I think it aligns with AFSUG also to show our members that we are a purpose-driven brand and we care also. So we're playing our part in the pandemic.
Talk to me about what you see the priorities of SAP in the new year, especially relating to cloud and security. I think these are hot topics at the moment.
Probably before I start, one of the key things we've seen in the past couple of weeks, SAP announcing a shift in focus to redirect their efforts towards cloud as their primary objective going forward. So And I think that brings a lot of opportunities for the partner ecosystem, which will play a key role in ensuring that SAP, supported by its partners, can actually achieve that. And the goal is to move towards an intelligent enterprise. And one of the prerequisites to get there is you got to be on S/4HANA. And there's been a lot of virtual workshops around educating our members around different journeys they can take to migrate to S4. I mean, there's still time, but I think the sooner you start your journey, the better. But secondly, a lot of it is going to be driven by AI. The pandemic has taught us that we need to digitally transform. What does that mean? Let's take away all the mundane and routine tasks that people do in organizations and allow the systems to go to work and do that kind of work. And I think that's where organizations should be moving towards. And us as a user group, obviously, we are primed to actually educate our members around the different options and the different exciting projects of different customers.
Duke, please tell us a little bit about the priorities for AFSUG in 2021.
Okay. The board and the special interest group committees and their leads, we recently held a strategy session, and I think we introspected and looked at, given where we've come from and where we are, where do we need to go? And some key things came up. One of the key objectives for us as a user group, we are called the African SAP User Group, but a lot of our activities are predominantly in Southern Africa. So the key thing now for us is to drive growth and membership of the user group in the rest of Africa. So we see the Sapila event next year being a key year for it, that we can actually leverage that to actually attract more members to join the organization.
Who don't have to travel all the way from
Correct.
North Africa.
Yeah. Secondly, what we saw as important going forward is typically African SAP user group sessions are very technology focused. And one of the things we identified was that we need to have more technology agnostic sessions. What that means is the different SIGs can run streams around CX sessions, public sector, and also really it's about bringing the business community, those that make the decisions and those who influence those that make the decisions, bringing them in the room and actually covering not only just the technological aspect, but also looking at the business aspects relating to the technology. For example, if you look at the POPI Act, a lot of companies are going to be scrambling to try and comply by June next year.
Yeah.
And we could have a session that just looks at POPI from an adoption perspective, irrelevant of the technology. And I think that's what our user group can bring to the table as value for our members.
I think many of our customers and other partners in the ecosystem are already members of AFSUG.
Mm-hmm.
But for those who are not, could you perhaps just give a brief overview of the benefits of an AFSUG membership?
Firstly, I just want to say thank you to our current members for their continued support. So we value that very much. And I think also I'm happy to say that the board also decided this year to not increase the membership fees for 2021. And this is 3 years running. So we understand the pressures of budget brought about by the pandemic on organizations. And so we thought, well, we want to retain the customers that we have, but we also want to grow further going forward. So we are now offering organizational membership and also individual membership. If an organization does not want to take the membership, then individuals within the organization can still apply to have membership within AFSUG, which I think creates flexibility. And then I think thirdly, for us, the key thing is that we have a very strong, robust platform and user community. So any new member that would like to join, I think the content and the workshops that we deliver by the various SIGs, special interest groups, they really provide insights that a new member or prospective members cannot afford to miss. And so I'd encourage any new customers to get in touch with us, and we're happy to take them through on some of the really, really key benefits that their organization can actually derive from being a member of AFSUG.
That brings us to the end of our interview. Duke, I would like to thank you so much for coming through today. People will be watching this in the first week of December when our virtual event goes live. And to me, it's important that we also look forward into what's coming in 2021. And I think you've given us a lot of insights, both from AFSUG and from SAP perspective. So thank you very much for your address today.
Thank you, Hilton, and thank you for inviting us. I think I wish your audience today that they enjoy the show, and it was great for us as AFSUG to share our thoughts.